we do have the energy to be nimble, and we have the benefit of being a younger firm too. So we're not stuck in our ways. We'll make a change over a weekend, but I think that cuts both ways.
Hey folks, before we get to the episode today, I just wanted to make a quick disclaimer. I was very excited to have Greg and John on the show, but there were some issues with the audio, mostly with Greg's vocals. And so we used some tools to clean it up. But if it doesn't sound as clean as what you're used to, we apologize for that. I think the content is still great. And so I hope you listen to the show and that you get a lot out of it. Thanks. Hey, welcome to another episode of the Marketing for Accounting Firms podcast, where we talk a little bit about marketing, a lot about accounting firms and how they grow, how they get built and all of that. I've got a fun show today. Greg O'Brien and John Malone, they own a firm together as co-CEOs, which is, I think, a fairly unique model. And they're going to talk to us about how they grew their firm and all kinds of fun stuff there. Greg, John, thanks for being here.
Thanks for having us, Matt. Excited to share some story and hopefully some tips and some learning lessons along the way.
Yeah, Matt. Thank you. Excited to be here.
Good. Greg, why don't you start us off? Tell us a little bit about where you're at with your firm right now. What kind of firm you have?
We are maybe 7.5 years in at this point. We started in October of 2018. Where we are today is not where we thought we were going to be when we started, right? So I think that oftentimes you can look back and say, this was a master plan, we did this and this. And the answer is no. I'm a tax person by background. I worked in public accounting out of college. The quick backstory is John and I went to college together at a school called Bentley up here in Boston. We played football together. We were co-captains, so known each other forever. I went the traditional public accounting route out of college, worked at a kind of regional type firm, 50, 60 people. You know, like most young guys that go to the traditional public accounting firms, you're like, there has to be more to life than these 90-hour weeks. So quickly, 24, 25, left that, went into private real estate, which I really loved, and did that for 5 or 6 years. But while I was doing that, I think I kind of had one of those moments and, quarter life crisis moments where I said, I have a CPA and I'm a master's degree in taxation, but I'm doing real estate financial analysis. Like, what am I doing? I was at a publicly traded company, great company, but I realized, I know where my career is going to be in 5, 6, 7 years based on that corporate ladder. So along the way, I just started really researching business models and entrepreneurial things, a lot of Tony Robbins type of stuff, and really just thinking like, can I do this? I didn't know anything about how an accounting firm ran other than what I saw from working at a public accounting firm. So my idea was, okay, how do I acquire as many clients as possible to do tax, right? Like, I have all these business plans and these spreadsheets because being analytical, I had to prove it. And I was like, I need 1,500 to 2,000 1040s. And I can do that with 2 contractors. That was kind of the plan. So fast forward, I quit the corporate job, and I had no more plan than that, to be honest. I just said, I want to do tax and I'll figure it out from there. Quickly after it got going, I kept researching more, and I came across something called the AI CTTC, which I think a lot of people probably listening have heard of, which is the American Institute of Certified Tax Coaches. Dominique Molina, a great organization. And, I took a leap of faith. It was pretty expensive, $6,000, $7,000. And went out to San Diego, and it quickly turned my mindset within 3 months of starting the firm of, okay, like, you really need to solve more complex problems for higher end clientele to make a lot of money in this business. Mm-hmm. And it doesn't have to be one-off tax returns and hourly billing. It just completely turned my mindset. And you look back and I'm like, obviously, but I didn't know that at the time. I was just thinking hourly billing and how many tax returns. And so fast forward, that really set us out on a trajectory. Well, we were very quickly, I came back from that, and I was on my own at that point, and just developed the starting of package pricing, the starting of value-based pricing. And that was kind of the initial kind of foray of how we got to where we are today. It was taking that leap of faith of like, okay, I don't need to acquire that many clients. I just need to get a bulk amount of monthly clients that I'm doing work for, which led to us adding bookkeeping in at the very beginning. But the short of it is, the background really took a pivot. I took the leap on that conference. So this is 2018 to 2019. Fast forward, I had hired 1 or 2 people in 2019. That was, again, looking back, it seems normal now, but I found 1 or 2 people online, both that actually lived in Pennsylvania. I don't even know what the company was that I found them, but I found these contractors online. One of them, which is still with us today. But before virtual was cool, I said, hey, this is pretty easy. I'm working out of we work in Boston. I have these 2 guys in Pennsylvania. Like, I don't understand why more people do this. Boom, COVID happens 2020. That honestly did fuel our growth a bit because our infrastructure was set up to scale remotely. So COVID kind of added fuel to the fire. Talent was on the market now, and
Sure.
then it wasn't as hard of a sale, right? So every client at that point was saying, hey, I'll do business remotely, versus 2019, it was more like, hey, I'm in California, you're in Boston. This is weird. Like that was how it was. So that happens. And then along the same time, I won't cut into John's story too much here, but John's actually a lawyer by trade, and he was kind of phasing out of what he was doing. And we just started doing more organic work together. And it made sense at that time to come in as a co-owner of this firm and take us to the next level where we are today. But that's the quick backstory. I just want to kick it to John, just kind of give his short version of how he got here as well.
Yeah, I'm a lawyer. That's like my technical background. Like I kind of joke that I'm like a fake lawyer now because I don't really do a lot of legal work, but that's what I did out of college. Like as Greg said, we went to Bentley together. I went to law school, and then I thought I was going to be a lawyer and do legal work my whole life, be a lawyer as a lawyer. And, that kind of quickly changed. I did do that for a fair amount of time. And then I kind of went out on my own, and Greg and I were working on a lot of clients together relating to strategy, tax planning for more complicated business and high net worth entrepreneurs. That's kind of when Greg was really starting to ramp up. And then, it just made sense for us to come together. And it was kind of an easy thing for us to do because we had a lot of history together and we knew each other very well. And it was, it's just a good match from that standpoint. And then I think we just quickly found out, as we started to grow and bring a lot more clients in, that we can't do the work ourselves, and we can't forever, and we have to figure out how to scale this. And that's kind of been the journey for the past 5-6 years is, what do we need to do to hit our goals and to grow this business? And so it's not centered around me and him, and that's easier said than done, but that's what we've been doing.
Yeah. So tell me a little bit about what does your team look like at this point? And then between the two of you, how do you balance responsibilities or like strengths and weaknesses? Where do you both fit into sort of the daily operations of the firm today?
Yeah, sure. So the team now, headcount, I think we're between 35 and 40 people. That's in a growing firm like us, it changes very frequently. So we just went through a bigger hiring spree. And so that number might even be a little off from that range, but it's close enough for purposes of this. And the breakdown is, we have a full service cloud accounting team. So we have some accountants that are offshore, and then we have some onshore accountants as well. And we have a director that kind of mans up that department. And then on the tax team, kind of the similar setup, we have some offshore tax associates and then onshore CPAs, EAs, and we have some management at that level too. I think what's a little bit different about us is we've really invested a lot in operations and some of the kind of non-production positions, because we want to be at the head of the curve with innovation and technology. So we have a director of operations, we have client experience manager, we have an operations manager who, helps us out across the board. So we've invested a lot in those positions and have found a lot of great people that have helped us grow and will continue to help us grow. And then we have people in marketing and sales as well. A lot of those functions are still managed and manned by Greg and myself, but we have support there as well. Yeah, I think to speak to like how we divide duties, I mean, we run on EOS. I see traction behind you, Matt. So
it's back there.
I can find that book. I know it's in there. That's something that we've been doing for the last 3 years. We have an implementer. So I think the reason I say that is that does kind of lay the framework for how, at least for Greg and myself, how we divide duties. Because if you know traction, you're familiar with the visionary integrator concept.
Yep.
So Greg's the visionary, I'm the integrator. For people that don't know, visionary sets the vision, ideas, really kind of sets company culture. Integrator is the one who dispenses that into the organization in a scalable way. That isn't to say we do it perfectly, but that's what we're tasked to do. And then apart from that, we sit in other seats on the accountability chart. Like I said, our goal is to not do that and to have everyone in one seat. But that goes to show you kind of how we divide our duties is really, we try to align with the accountability chart. And to be honest with you, that's not an easy thing in a growing organization. That comes with challenges, but that's our framework for it.
Yeah. Well, just from the outside, from what I observed of your firm and watching you two, you're both young guys, right? We know that in this industry, the average age of a CPA is in their 70s or something like that right now. So you're newer to the industry and all of this. You seem to be pretty tech forward and innovative, going remote from the start. What are you seeing and what have you learned starting from scratch? I guess the other thing is you don't have baggage. A lot of these legacy firms have been doing things a certain way for a long time. You've got that benefit of starting from scratch and doing it the way you want to do. What have you found as opportunities, the benefits? And then are there any pitfalls that you realize at this point? You know what? Those old firms have got some things figured out that we could learn from.
We kind of went this route of fixed price from the beginning. And I'm not exaggerating when I said we probably tried different versions of that. I think what we've had to get smart on over time is who is our target audience, and we have to craft them. And if there's people outside of that, that's okay, but we can't bend and morph ourselves to help every single type of client out there. And I think the kind of old school traditional firm model, right? You go to their websites and who do we serve? And there's like 72 industries there. And it's like, oh, wow, you do AI and you do these niche construction contractors. That's interesting. So we got to get smart on who we work with best, right? And I think how we figure that out is, number one, where does our personal passions lie? And number two, who attracts to this kind of virtual, fast-paced model? And where we ended up was, number one, we call them digital businesses. So it could be a marketing agency, could be digital security, could be an AI startup, just someone that's also operating like this, right?
Yeah.
They're operating kind of service-based online business. So we're going to exclude things like heavy inventory, manufacturing, retail, like Main Street, restaurants, like not our game. We are regionally up here in Boston is what you would call a venture-backed startup. So think MIT, Harvard, these really small, mostly science-backed pharma, biotech, could be AI and SaaS startups that are risky from a client perspective because maybe 2 of 5 make it and then a couple fizzle out or get acquired. But we really like that kind of client, that person that works behind that science founder. They're really good clients for us and we really can speak their language and make sure we put them in a good position. So we've had to learn to craft everything around that and develop different packages for them. One thing I've also had to realize over the past year and a half is that the world is changing and we need to get ahead of it. And what I mean by that is, and I'm sure you hear this all the time, Matt, but I'm not exaggerating, 95% of our inquiries in those markets will say to us, we have Bob, the CPA, for 10 years. Bob's a nice guy. Geez, it's 2 months before he replies to my email asking him a very easy question, right? And what I've noticed more recently is that the younger generation that's coming up now, so I guess you'd call them Gen Z, that are now owning a lot of these kind of tech businesses or they're growing digital businesses, they expect a very, very quick, timely response time from any of their business service providers. So we went through this whole process and did a lot of research on this. And the baseline expectation is within 8 hours, right? That's what they want. If they don't get that, they're going to use AI. They're going to do something else to get that answer they need. So we've had to take a lot of steps internally to creating what we call SLAs and kind of selling that, hey, our service level agreement for this package is we're going to get back to you in the same day. And that's a metric we have to track internally. I think in the past, we were a little loose on that. And then we would hear these things from some clients saying, oh, you guys aren't getting back to us fast enough. 24, 48 hours is not fast enough. Not every account is going to deal with that problem. But if we're marketing towards and trying to attract Gen Z and millennial business owners, we have to match that from a service perspective. They want integrated communication, right? They want us to communicate how they communicate. They're not picking up the phone and calling us, right? They want email, text, Slack. Maybe if you're working with the baby boomer generation, they want you to pick up the phone, right? So we've had to craft everything around that. I think one of the aha moments I had to have is that John, for years, he'd been kind of knocking me and saying, hey, these younger clients, they hate logging into our portal and doing stuff. And I was just very resistant. You have to do it this way. Until we learned the hard way, right? We had some clients leave because they were really like, we don't want to deal with these portals anymore. So one of the big lessons I've learned in the industry right now is that the world is changing and like we're no different than any other kind of type of business. We have to adapt with that or you're going to get left behind, frankly.
Yeah. And I think that speaks to, like you said, your question, Mal, just being younger, right? We do have the energy to be nimble and we have the benefit of being a younger firm too. So we're not stuck in our ways. We'll make a change over a weekend. But I think that cuts both ways. Like to your other point is we can't drive our team completely insane. We can't just run after shiny objects.
Yeah.
And I think that's been a growth thing for us, a maturity point for us is that we need to recognize and be diligent about the things that we're going to pursue and the things that are not going to help us achieve our goals, then we got to let them go. So that's a big thing for us. We still want to maintain that level of nimbleness, but we're now a little bit more diligent about what we do and what we don't do.
Let me draw just out, I think, a lesson that could be really valuable for other firms. A niche is not a favorite market. And a lot of people get this wrong. They think like, oh, I've talked to multiple venture-backed startups in this accounting space, and they ask me things like, what would be a profitable niche to go into? And that's really, I find that to be the wrong question. Usually what you need to do is figure out what makes us unique, what can we really deliver on, and that's going to lead you to your ideal target market, not the other way around. We know that every accounting firm loves to work with dentists because they make a lot of money and they're pretty easy to work with. But why would a dentist want to work with you? And in your case, it sounds like you really identified what are your strengths. You're nimble, you're remote, you're tech forward. Who are your customers? They're going to be nimble, they're going to be digital, they're going to be tech forward, all those things. And then it leads to decisions about the processes. If our ideal clients don't love logging into portals, then we find a way to serve them in a way that makes sense to them. This is a small thing, but if I'm making my connection point here, we shifted a lot of the work we do with accounting firms to just using spreadsheets to lay out these different things. Accountants feel safe. They love being in spreadsheets. And so when we pop open a calculator and a formula to talk through like cost of acquisition, it helps develop trust because we're speaking their language. We're doing things in a way that makes sense to them. And it sounds like you've really found that with your ideal clients too. I imagine that means saying no to certain clients or folks that maybe would be profitable for another firm. You mentioned restaurants, but it's not a good fit for you. This is maybe like my long lead into the question. Have you struggled to find new business? Like, where are your clients coming from? How are you growing the firm today?
Yeah, an average client age of ours is probably 35 years old, across all kind of areas. Where do they live, right? They're probably living online, right? Being in that millennial generation, like most things I'm doing is online. So I'm searching on Google, recently searching on AI, right? So everything from paid ads, whether it's Google, Meta, through different type of things we've tried over the years, and some successful, some not, but like working with influencers in social, video, forums. What I mean by forums is, can we find places where people are living in these niches, like where their forums are, and be helpful in those forums? Then obviously, like all accounts, referrals are huge, but I think we try to gamify referrals in a way, right? So we put together referral packages for our clients. We incentivize the team that likes to go out and ask for referrals. We give them incentives for doing that. So really putting all those things together has been the biggest thing for us. You have to change your mindset there where, hey, we are niche in the grand scheme of things, right? We're not selling something that the entire world needs. We're selling something that's kind of niche at the end of the day, accounting services. So we have to be okay with, if we're attracting 300 to 500 people and they're viewing our content, that's unbelievable. And the other kind of trick in my head I had to figure out with social media was, again, Matt, you just said accountants love spreadsheets. Accountants love tracking one-to-one ratios, right? With spreadsheets.
They do.
One social media post equals how many clients. That's what they want to know. And the answer is you can't do that because you can't name the amount of times where third, fourth generation referrals have come to us where someone from our past, someone from social media has sent it to somebody else and said, hey, this is actually something my cousin owns a marketing agency. I'm sending them your stuff. You should get in contact with them. That happens all the time. So it's not always direct, but it's just growing that brand presence is just huge. But to get there, you do have to put a lot of effort into it and you need to give it time. And I guess I sometimes will get frustrated when I talk to other accountants because they say, well, if it's working for you guys, like we're not doing it right or something's not working. I always tell them, you got to give it time and consistency. So we have done pretty much daily short form video postings for a few years now. And ask John, it's a grind. We script them out sometimes, other times we don't, but it's like, we got to get behind the camera, feel uncomfortable sometimes and just do it because I come from the kind of school of thought with marketing. Long story short, we've tried pretty much everything when it comes to advertising marketing, but we have grown fully organically, no acquisitions. And I think we'll continue to do that until such time we hit some kind of ceiling.
Yeah. I meet a lot of accounting firm owners who they like the concept, but the idea of getting out in front and being the face of the firm in that way is terrifying to them individually. Maybe it's a little bit personality based. Accounting tends to attract people who like to be on the computer, and the stereotypes are a little bit more introverted. I think the advice I'd give is, you get better when you do things. So if you commit to getting out there. The other thing is, there's this quote that writing is thinking. And I think in the modern era, you could extrapolate to say posting is thinking. Like getting on camera every day, not only is it giving you brand awareness out in these spaces where your ideal clients hang out, it's also helping you develop your point of view and the way to express it, which turns you into a better advisor, which turns into better content, which makes people trust you more. So it becomes this flywheel where even if you're not getting a lot of traction at the beginning, you're building up your own skill set in a way that's going to benefit you down the line too. I often say, marketing is expensive, but you can spend time or money. And a lot of firms, this is the guy who sells marketing, but I would say a lot of firms would benefit by spending more time, from the owners, like developing their skill set. You can get a lot of advantages from it, but it is pretty slow work. It's not something that it's not a light switch.
Yeah, especially if you're going to be, you're like, our target market is younger, like we said, venture-backed startups, younger kind of digitally based entrepreneurs. So that is where they consume their content, right? And we need to be there. And I think we're definitely, like you said, time or money, Matt, we've definitely been, I think, an example of people that have invested a lot of time. We certainly invest money too, but we've invested a lot of time. And true to just start, the first video I did is probably a disaster. And I still feel, sometimes I still hate it.
Yeah.
But it's like anything else. It's just a muscle you got to step out and do. And like you said, it's a flywheel. Think about how much time as individuals we spend just consuming content on our phones, right? It's that's the same for all your customers too.
Yeah, that's true. All right, we're going to take a quick break here. We throw some ads in, and then we're going to come back and talk about some technology and processes. This podcast is brought to you in part by TeamUp. TeamUp helps hire directly for accounting firms in the Philippines. What is hire direct? Hire direct means that you have a direct relationship with your team. There's no middleman. That person is part of their team just like anyone else. They follow your processes, they share your values, and they're part of your culture. Just like hiring someone remotely, but locally to you, it's the same thing. You're just hiring in another country. So how does it work? They join your team meetings and they are fully integrated with your team, same as anybody else. It's really easy. You can find out more information at hireteamup.com. Again, that is hireteamup.com. This podcast is brought to you in part by Works. Here's the thing. Clients don't love having a hodgepodge of a bunch of different advisors. Really, they would love it if they could get the advice that they need from one trusted source, and that source could be you. Offering payroll through Works allows you to become more of that advisor. Whether you're referring your clients or you're building a payroll practice of your own, Works will deliver the back office strength and support that your clients expect, and you can stay as the hero and trusted advisor in their story. Learn more about how to partner with Works at works.com. That's WHIRKS.com. All right, you are listening to Marketing for Accounting Firms. I've got John and Greg today from, I don't think we even mentioned the name of your firm. Is it Anomaly Accounting or just Anomaly? Anomaly CPAs?
Yeah, and that was just for the quick story there. So we were originally under my name, so it was Greg O'Brien. And then we shortened it to Go CPA and marketing and branding, Matt. We did some focus studies with the branding agency, and the word Go is not good for the clientele we're serving. It means TurboTax-ish, fast and cheap.
Yeah.
That's the whole exercise probably 3 years ago, and then rebranded, and now it feels like forever. But yeah, that's how we got here.
Yeah, for folks listening, you should go check out their website and their branding. I think you guys look great. It's a slick, modern firm, but I think I've been on your website. It's very clear in terms of what you do, a lot of information for people. It strikes me as the sort of brand that would really appeal to a business owner like myself, who's a digital entrepreneur. And, that's what you're going after. So good for you. That's an expensive project even in itself. I think a lot of firms feel like, what's the big deal with the name or branding? And on one hand, you can. But I think that if you have ambitious growth goals, I think there can be a real advantage to investing in the brand, not just the business processes and all that. But That's going to lead me into that question. Let's talk about, what do you use to run your business? What are the key technologies, software platforms, things like that you use? What do you build your business on?
Yeah, I think we're probably non-traditional in the sense too. Like we're not, what goes to Greg's point originally, like try to make the decisions not just from an industry standard perspective.
Mhm.
We're going to use the best tools that we think to give our clients the best experience and also reduce friction internally. So like our workflow system is ClickUp. So
Mhm.
that's industry agnostic, right? That's just you can build whatever you want to build from a workflow perspective. So we pretty much run everything through that. So anything from like our CRM, like our sales, our leads, our marketing,
Yeah.
our client production and service, our HR, kind of everything, because it integrates with all our ancillary tools and it has such a robust AI capabilities behind it. So, we're able to kind of leverage a lot in the form of not just like AI search and queries
Yeah.
and, because you can access GPT and Gemini and everything from it, but it also allows you to build agents within it. So we've been able to leverage that. And so that's like our core software that we've really, again, invested just a lot of time into, right? It's definitely
Who,
not something that's for everybody.
yeah, who's your ClickUp guru? Did you work with like a consultant or someone internally has become the expert?
We have a director of operations, right?
Mhm.
That whole team helps maintain and builds that out. And Greg and I have an affinity for that stuff too, right?
Yeah.
So like if we didn't have the vision or the interest in that stuff, then I don't know that we would really be doing it, but we do. I think we want to always be like making cool things and seeing how they work and how they can help our business.
Yeah. All right. So ClickUp is the main one. You mentioned EOS as well, as far as like the company
Yeah.
operating system. Do you want to expand on that at all?
Yeah, sure. So EOS is from the book Traction. It's really just a management methodology and structures. We tried to self-implement for a little bit, just kind of kicking it around, really just between Greg and myself, gave us a structure. And then we were like, we can't do this without a professional. So we hired a professional implementer over 2 years ago. So yeah, it's really just infiltrated our entire company from the top down. We still have a lot of work to do in terms of some of the tools and just really getting it to every level. But the main things like the VTO is very clear to everybody. The vision, that's the vision and our goals, like our 10-year target, our 3-year picture, our 1-year goal, our rocks. We're, disseminating and cascading that information all the time. We have a scorecard, we adhere to our accountability chart, we go through the meeting pulse. So a lot of tools that have helped us, it's not this quick fix or this silver bullet, but if you're disciplined about it, it's definitely helped us grow over the last 2 years in a more sustainable way for sure.
Yeah. Is there anything else that you are really excited about in terms of technology? AI is obviously the thing that everybody is talking about and thinking about. I know you also, it sounds like you have some offshore team members. Is there anything kind of in that category that you think maybe more firms need to be aware of and
I
using
think
into their benefit?
everyone should be doing their own AI exploration. We hired a consultant for AI probably a few months back. A guy I met at a conference, not a company conference out in the West Coast, but he's done multiple projects with us. We actually set a company-wide training yesterday and just kind of talking about our AI principles and how to do things. He's built some apps for us, internal apps that we can use from prompting and different kind of niche tax things we do, some
Mhm.
apps for up. So my eyes have been open that almost every problem I've brought into this consultant, his answer has been, it's possible. How much time and money do you want to spend? Stop with that limiting brain belief. Oh man, this one's too complicated. It can't do this. It can do it. It's just a matter of like how much time and effort you want to put into it. But I think that takes your own exploration. I think it can be super overwhelming for people to look at AI. So I think personally, the shortcut there is hire a qualified consultant. Our consultant's in his low 20s, like just a smart out of college AI person. But again, it's a little bit like that. They grew up with this world a little bit more, so it's a little bit more natural for them. So I think a lot of good consultants out there. I would recommend people check them out.
Yeah. Well, we're close to time here, so I want to land this plane. I appreciate both of you guys being on here. Where can people find you? And the show's mostly for other accounting firm owners. Where can they find you and any communities that you're connected with or places that people could connect with the work that you're doing?
Yeah, for sure. So both John and I are on LinkedIn. We post quite frequently. Our social handles as well for Instagram and YouTube. But organization wise, we're both kind of active members of TASDA. I know a lot of accounting firms are in. Really recommend that group's done wonders for us. We're part of Trees and Stats community as well, realize, so good things to say about that as well. So we're active in those. And other than that, we do having a lot of conversations with accountants. We're always bouncing ideas off each other. Definitely love talking with other accountants, and just, I feel like we're all in together, right? We're always trying to help each other and find these little things that work.
Yeah. It's become a real collaborative space, it seems. Like you can find your way into groups in the accounting world who are really working to help each other out. Maybe it helps that there's such a shortage of good tax pros and accountants out there that there's more than enough work to go around. Let's just all get better at doing it and serving our clients. John, any last words?
No, I really appreciate having us on, Matt. I mean, this whole sphere of topics is something that we're very passionate about. And yeah, if there's anybody in your network or people that are listening that want to reach out to Greg and myself, we certainly welcome that. We're always excited to talk to firm owners or aspiring firm owners about their journey and how we can help.
Yeah. And if you're a marketing agency owner and you're listening to this show to steal ideas from me and you need an accountant, you should check out Anomaly.
Yeah, for sure. That was good social proof that you like our website. That was great. That was good.
All right, we're going to leave it there. This has been the Marketing for Accounting Firms podcast. Greg O'Brien, John Malone, thank you so much for being on the show.
Thanks, Matt. Appreciate it.
This podcast is brought to you in part by Works. Now, not every firm is going to build their firm the same way. Everybody has a different idea of what they want, the goals that they have. And if you're growing and you want to expand your service line, that might include payroll. But there are different ways to do payroll. The nice thing about Works is that it gives you options. If you want a trusted partner that you can refer clients to, Works has a great option for that. They call it the Referral Partner Program. If you want to build a payroll practice within your firm where you're the one offering payroll to your clients, Works can do that as well. They have a network partner program that gives you the back office support you need to offer payroll to your clients. Either way, Works puts you in control of the way that you want to grow, and you have a trusted partner who's got your back the whole time. You can learn more about both of those programs at works.com. That's WHIRKS.com. This podcast is brought to you in part by TeamUp. TeamUp is a recruiting firm that helps you hire direct in the Philippines. But how do you hire in the Philippines? Do you need to understand Philippine employment law? There really are two main options. You can hire a contractor where you pay them directly and they handle their own tax and compliance. Or you can work with an employee of record, similar to a PEO. They handle the payroll and compliance. They pay the employee, you pay them, but they aren't involved in any of the day-to-day work or management of your employee. TeamUp is not an employment of record, but they can refer you to one if you want. Either way, the day-to-day experience is the same. If you've been considering hiring in the Philippines, but you're worried about everything being above board from an employment and compliance standpoint, TeamUp can help guide you through that process. You can learn more at hireteamup.com. Again, that is hireteamup.com.